Hello, everyone. It's him from Self Love Self Care System, and this is a new episode of Conversations with Experts. Now, I know I haven't done one of these interviews for a really long time, but today I have a very special guest. This is Lacky You, a songwriter and rapper who works as a wellness advisor and is a student of Raja Yoga Meditation. Raja Yoga Meditation is under the Brahma Kumari's Spiritual University. So, hello, Lacky. Thank you so much for joining me today on Conversations with Experts.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and really glad to be here.
You are so welcome. It's lovely to have you here. Lacky, I want to ask you a little bit about first, my first question would be, how did you get into Raja Yoga? What got you into this spiritual side of your life? Because obviously, I see you're a songwriter and rapper as well. What really got
Yeah.
you into that space that brought you to the space where you started to be more spiritual with your life? And
Yeah, it's a good question, really. I think what happened was when I was younger, my mom kind of got into the Brahma Kumaris, and she got into meditation. And she kept saying to us as children, like, why don't you come meditation? Why don't you go meditation? And I think at the time, just wasn't ready for that. I was kind of like, in my teenage years, and then I was going to uni. The last thing I wanted to do was to go meditation. And I felt there was no need for me to go, because to go meditation sometimes it's if you want to heal something. And but then they kind of came to a point where I kind of seen changes in my mom. She did used to be kind of angry, she started off being a bit angry. So I kind of noticed she became peaceful. She got more peaceful. The anger started to kind of subside.
yeah,
But also she became more powerful as well.
yeah.
And when I started seeing them changes, I'm like, okay, now I'm interested. Like now, I'm like willing to go just because I seen them changes really. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you know what's really interesting when you said that? You said the words meditation made her more powerful, and then you saw those changes and it drew you to that. And I think that's such an interesting and strong point and a message because often people find or struggle with meditation. Okay.
Yeah.
So they struggle with that you say, oh, well, you could meditate, and they oh no, I couldn't do that. What would you say to people who felt that meditation was maybe unachievable or unattainable?
Yeah, it's actually more common than we think. I think like give it a chance. Just be very honest with yourself. And I think in the beginning it can be scary. I've had incidents where people have meditated and have had really bad experience because for the first time they're actually facing themselves. So as people, they don't like distract themselves. They're keeping themselves busy, and when they meditate, they finally have that appointment with themselves. And when they see what's in their inner world, they may be frightened of it. They may be not liking what they're seeing. But it gets a lot easier. So the more you do it, the more you start going into your inner world, the more things will like clear up. So keep going, keep showing up, and even if you don't get any connection, the main thing is consistency, be consistent, be persistent with it, and things will shift. Think things will get easier.
That is beautiful. I loved that. I love where you said that people they've got all these distractions, and because they're always keeping themselves busy by meditating, they actually have to face up to themselves. I never really thought about it because I've meditated since I was a child. So I've never really had any kind of, when you said the word bad experiences, I've never had it. So for me, that was a
Yeah,
real eye opener. I would not have known that some people might have had that kind of experience. That's
sure.
interesting. So, on another note, what do you think would be the best way to start meditating if you've never done it before?
If you've never meditated before, the easiest way really is to like follow like a guided commentary. So there's a lot of guided commentaries on YouTube. So to kind of listen to a guided meditation and just kind of like sit up straight and just kind of calm yourself as much as you can and listen to that commentary. And to I think the more you kind of get into it, having things like music, playing instrumental music, things like meditation commentaries. And as time goes on, you start to build your own commentary, your own kind of narratives that work for you, your own affirmations, as we say, mantras, affirmations. So yeah, I think the main thing is guided commentaries and instrumental music.
So for yourself, what was the biggest breakthrough you had? And what was your most resistant point?
In terms of like meditating or
Yeah, and in terms of all of what you were doing and becoming this new version of yourself, because when we move into the spiritual pathway, it changes us, but we often have resistance and we often have breakthroughs. So what were yours, or if you can find them and you can give us those?
yeah, it's good to kind of question this actually, and I've probably not questioned it like enough. But it's I'd say I did have like resistance in the sense that of knowing who I am, like knowing I'm a soul. And I think it's this ongoing journey, like who am I? I'm more than just this body. I'm this pinpoint of light, this spiritual like energy. So having that awareness is a constant like reminding myself. So there's been like resistance in the sense that me not wanting to accept who I truly am, me going into body consciousness, me having meditation sessions where I'm just not connecting, I'm not feeling anything. I've had my thoughts are going everywhere, you know. The break point is probably it's a good question. It's hard to answer in terms of like one break point. I think it's been probably a series of break points over time, and it's been kind of, I'd say, gradual and slow, but it's kind of coming, But I, I think I've had moments where I felt something, I felt this kind of power, I felt energy. We try and connect to the divine, whether you call it God or the divine being, supreme source. I've had feelings of experiencing that love and that peace. So I think that's really kept me going, that experience, because you never kind of forget them experiences, So yeah, just a kind of combination of having them experiences from time to time has kind of sustained me really, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that because it's such a good advertisement for meditation because you've literally said about how you did have those thoughts. You didn't accept who you were. You struggled with those aspects, but then you met what is thoughts. You met an energetic vibration that was so powerful that it kept you in that energetic loop of, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can find myself in this because the bigger part of this is when I do the stuff I do with the spiritual stuff, I'm always saying, remember, you're actually a soul. You're
Yeah,
more than this name, this job, all these things. Yet I think people struggle with that. I think meditation brings you into a space where you're seeing these tiny little pockets of reality. And then you think, oh, I have a realization of what this really means for my soul pathway, right? So
yeah.
for your own soul pathway and journey, what changes did it bring for you by moving from where you were to where you started to be with the Raja Yoga meditation?
So it brought like a lot of changes actually. So in terms of like my music, the content of my music changed, like what I was talking about, what I was rapping about, is like the
Yeah.
kind of stereotypical things,
Yeah.
cars and girls, just things like that really. So the kind of content of that changed, but also the language changed. I used to swear and stuff in songs. So I don't swear now at all, like even in my music or just generally. I see that as a kind of form of impurity, it's a form of like viciousness. So yeah, the like swearing changed, the language, the music, other aspects, I did get bullied, and the meditation helped me get through that. So it's had so many like positive benefits, and I think sometimes we don't realize until we like look back at our lives and we like reflect. And it's helped me with my job, and the thing is, it still is helping me to this day. And sometimes we don't realize the kind of incognito-ness about it, but there is this kind of protection and security that you get with meditation.
I love that because it's almost like yeah, if we go here and we do this, we will find results. I think what often happens is we've been kind of trained, quite inculcated in the world that we live in for fast, quick results. And meditation doesn't tend to be those fast, quick results. But if you're willing to wait, take those baby steps and do that work, then you're going to see, like he says, you're going to see these changes and become someone slightly different. And I love what you said about the swearing, but I get that, and I do agree with you. It's kind of it's base language, and it does have a vibration. Everything has a vibration
Yeah,
basically. And this is kind of what Lucky's kind of alluding to. Everything has a vibration, and every way that we behave and the things that we do are the vibrations that are coming through. Now, you did mention in what you just said about bullying. So, can we kind of go a little bit to that? Because I know that currently bullying's getting worse because we have social media and people seem to think or people find it easier now, I think, to infringe in other people's lives because they can do that behind a keyboard and they're not really seen. And I don't know how it was for you, but it'd be lovely for the viewers to feel heard and seen and witness something that you went through because that makes them also feel witnessed and maybe anything that maybe they've experienced too.
sure. Yeah. I think bullying is it's like a real part of life, and like whether it's children, whether it's adults, it still happens in the workplace, and it still is, um, it still is a big problem now. It's just now, like you said, we're living in more like digital times, so there's different forms of bullying that might have not happened back in the days. Now you're getting online bullying. For me, it was more like of like physical in the sense of like the bully was there in front of me, but it was more of the bully trying to take control, more like manipulation, trying to like kind of because we shared the same friends as well, so trying
Mm.
to kind of get them friends away from me and using like manipulation techniques, and I think really just like down to jealousy maybe, and yeah, it's a shame because I actually like going to school. I like going to school, but then suddenly now there's a conflict. Now it's like I don't want to go.
Mm.
So and yeah, it's kind of like I think I was very like studious as well, but then it kind of made me step back a bit and kind of not wanting to go to school, trying to fake sick at times, and knowing where to turn to get some strength and support. Because for when you're a teenager, your mind is everywhere, and when we're still growing, our minds are growing, our bodies are growing. So yeah, it can be a difficult time for sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry you went through that. I mean, that's really hard. I think it's a case of like we need to find our inner selves. So what would you say to someone maybe who's suffering something like this in whether they're a child or an adult? What would your advice be? How did you find your way out of that tunnel, so to speak?
Sure. I think the main thing is just trying to like express yourself because most times when you're getting bullied, we kind of like suppress it. So like like there's like so many ways that you can journal by like writing your feelings down. Like I used to do a lot of writing your feelings down, writing your emotions down. Music definitely helped me. Listening to music, writing songs that help. But for people that don't do that, trying to speak out to someone, whether it's a friend, a teacher, even if you can't speak to your parents or anyone, like just speak to a helpline. There's a lot of help out there. Like things like Childline, things like that. Um, Other things like joining sports, like kickboxing, that's a great thing to get confidence. So nurture your hobbies and interests, whether it's kickboxing, music, any creative thing will really go like a long way. So yeah, it's kind of using a range of tools, but the main thing is to speak out in your own way and to someone that you can trust. Yeah, I would I would say that really.
I love those. I think they're amazing and I think they're really, really good and I think they can work for everybody. So, what I want to say is if you are suffering anything and there is any difficulty going on with your own life and you are going through these kind of things, I like what I'm with Lucky on get someone to help you. But the other things you can do for yourself are great where you can, journal, you can write, you can go and do some kind of kickboxing or sports to get the thing is I think I get why you said this, Lucky, because with emotional things, they go into your body. So if you move your body, you move and shift the emotion. It's the same with writing, it does that same thing. So
Yeah.
because you said that, I have a question about the journaling. What I don't know how you can sort of answer this, but I want to understand from your own perspective what you felt journaling brought to you and how you expressed through that writing, even maybe with your songwriting as well. What did it bring
Yeah.
to you and how did you express through that?
I think with the like writing is for the first time facing what's happening to me because I'm bringing it pen to paper. So I'm
Yeah.
bringing it into existence almost. Because if you think about it, I'm kind of suppressing it. I'm kind of keeping it hidden. So as soon as you bring pen to paper, you're kind of bringing it out in the open. And I think it's kind of like processing the feelings. You're kind of seeing it on paper that this is like th- this is a real thing, you know. So writing the songs was more like conveying my emotions and expressions that I couldn't necessarily kind of tell anyone. And it felt so good just to like let it out as well, like letting things out. You feel that incredible lightness. You know, it's like for example, it's like you've been carrying this heavy rucksack on your back, 15 kg rucksack on your back, and finally you can let go of it, like let go of it off your shoulders, and how you feel so light after that. So that letting go feeling is amazing,
I
really
love
is.
them. Yeah, I love them. So letting go of it. I love the way you've said it was like a rucksack on your back and you let it go. Did you feel the energetic shift when you
Yeah,
did that?
yeah, for sure. I think like working on the songs and just going into like there's two aspects. One is the writing aspect, and then the other is going to the studio and actually like recording and like letting it out vocally. But I think in both aspects, in both processes, writing and recording, is very like therapeutic. Even the bullying song I did, Be Okay, we actually shot it in the school where the bullying happened.
Yeah.
And I felt this kind of energy shift in the sense of okay, this is something that happened to me, but now it's kind of done and dusted. And then it kind of came to a stage of forgiveness. So
Beautiful.
then I knew that I had to go through the forgiveness to kind of carry on that process of healing, really, because it is healing. Because bullying and things like that do give you trauma, and I think
Yeah.
as children we don't realize it. And then what's kind of ironic is as you get older, if you've not truly dealt with it, it kind of breaks out in different forms. We might be like not unsocial, we might be unsociable, or we can't connect with people, or th there might be things about our personality, and it's because of that trauma that we've not dealt with. So it kind of shows that we can never really escape trauma until it's truly dealt with, really. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really true. And as Lucky's mentioned trauma, I advise anyone who is going through anything like that to maybe seek a qualified trauma focused therapist. They're like the best people to help with that kind of thing. Wherever you are in the world, if you look up trauma focused therapist, someone who deals specifically with trauma, because it is different to other types of like counseling and psychotherapy and that. But yeah, so you said about like the forgiveness, and forgiveness is like a really big one. And, I want to kind of model this, and I understand with yourself, Lucky, it was when you were younger and you were a child and you went through this, but I know adults go through this as well. And we all go through forgiveness issues. We all struggle with that forgiveness. How did
Yeah.
you, how did you do that? How did you forgive? What part of
Yeah.
you released in order to forgive? I always think forgiveness, people struggle with it when you say, oh, forgive. They look at you and go, I have no idea how to forgive. It was too much. So,
Yeah.
how would you what it meant for you to forgive and how you could maybe advise others to do it too.
Sure. I think there's two like aspects to it for me. Like one was to forgive the bully, and then the other aspect is to forgive myself. Um, to forgive the bully, I found that easier because over time, I didn't see the bully anymore. The
Yeah.
situation in that physical aspect had kind of finished.
Yeah.
But the harder thing was to forgive myself. And I think this is where like meditation, where that kind of spiritual knowledge of Raja Yoga meditation helped me to understand that first of all that I'm a soul, I'm a being of light, and secondly that that we're all in this kind of drama, and everyone's playing their roles. So it's kind of on the world stage, and the thing is we have karmas to settle with other souls, and like one phrase that kind of stuck with me, that hurt people hurt people, And again, it's not to justify what happened, but it's to get that understanding, that acceptance of why it might be happening. And then I did find out later that the bully was actually going through a lot of things himself,
Yeah.
and that just helps to get some understanding and clarity as to why it happened. So I could forgive him, but I think forgiving myself was a lot harder because to forgive yourself, you have to kind of face yourself. And I think it's kind of forgiving yourself for like allowing yourself to get hurt, because the situation's finished now, but you keep repeating it in your mind again and again. So it's like a tape
Yeah.
recorder, and by doing that, you're like allowing the hurt to come again and again as well. So we have to forgive ourselves for allowing ourselves to get hurt, really, and that for me was more challenging. But with meditation, it definitely helped.
So you forgave yourself, which is a really huge undertaking.
Yeah.
So was that just through meditation, or were there other things that helped you to forgive? Because forgiving self is one of the top notes of evolution. It's
Yeah.
evolving, it's moving into a different kind of consciousness. So what were you what were you doing to get that happening for yourself? What were the tools that you used?
I think, for forgiving myself, I kind of did like a lot of inner child work because I realized in adult life that I was still kind of going through certain pain, going through certain issues, and then I was like, where is this stemming from? And,
Mm.
most of our trauma stem from a child.
Yeah.
I did trauma training for my job, and it said that
Mm.
when you're a child, when they get hurt, they experience pain.
Yeah.
Children always blame themselves. They never blame the like abuser. They always think it's their fault. And I think that's why like a lot of trauma stems from like childhood. But forgiving myself is, I think, it's a lot of child work and really visualizing myself as a child, or having a young picture of myself as a child,
Mm.
talking to it,
Um,
that helps.
mhm.
And yeah, I've done work about maybe like visualizing the bully, giving the bully good wishes and pure feelings, but then visualizing myself as a child in meditation and sending that child a lot of good wishes and pure feelings and so much love, just like pouring my love into that like inner child, you know. So yeah, because and I think one thing as well is interesting that we hold the scene, but we also hold the pain, the feeling of the scene, and over time we forget the scene, but we still remember that pain, that feeling. So the feeling stays with us, but the scene we kind of can forget over time. So I think it's dealing with them feelings.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. I love that. It's interesting because you were saying about your training. So I'm a trained primary school teacher, and the children do that. What they do is from 0 to 7, they'll take everything in. And then from 7 to 14, they'll start to look out into the world to prove everything that they've taken in. And this is inculcation and it's conditioning. And what happens, unfortunately, if trauma happens during those years, or even from 14 to 21, actually, it's still difficult as well because you're in your power base. And if trauma happens in those years, it gets really, really difficult to work. And as Lucky says, and I do inner child work for people in sessions, but you know how you need to become aware of your inner self. And actually, Lacky, there's something you made really, really good point that you've made when you were talking about the bully and everything that you've been through. It's always about ourselves, actually. The work actually has to start here. And I think some of us do forget that. We forget that. So you made a point about the bully, and you said that, what did you say? The bully was going through things himself. I think this is the thing. I think when we are in these situations, and it's difficult sometimes because the bully thinks it's you and you think it's the bully, and you get this kind of circle going round and round and round.
Yeah,
And I think it's really clear from what you've just said that we need to become more aware of the fact that it's a cyclical thing. It's not just you, it's not just them, it's a whole scenario of conditioning and trauma because you've explained from what you've said, the bully was also going through their own issues.
yeah.
Now, what would you say about the recognition of that? Because a lot of people would say, yeah, but that's fine, Lackey, but they're really hurting me and I can't see beyond this, like you said, the pain and this angst that I'm going through. So what would you say to someone who's still in that struggle space? What would you say to them?
If they're still being bullied.
If you're going through some kind of trauma or someone's harassing you, bullying you, maybe traumatized or making you feel anxious and things like that, but you're struggling with the forgive because you said you had to forgive the bully first,
Yeah,
right? What if that's the place where you get stuck? What would you say to someone who's getting stuck in that space?
sure. Yeah, it can be very difficult because like essentially the person that's causing you so much pain, how can you forgive them? It's very difficult to forgive someone that's causing you pain. But I think one thing that spirituality teaches us is that actually the thing is that we are allowing ourselves to get hurt. Yeah, so that's a big thing that okay, the bully supposedly might be causing you pain, but who's causing us more pain is ourselves because like say the bully might do his thing, whether it's like pushing you or verbally say something, but how many times do we torment ourselves, like repeat what he said, we start believing it, we start becoming a fragment, we become like an outer shell, so we start believing it, so in a sense we're actually hurting ourselves more. And what we and actually we're like allowing ourselves to get hurt, so I think a lot of it is down to us, and it's by kind of healing ourselves really. I think it's to take like ownership and like accountability, and we have to kind of because we can hurt ourselves, we can also heal and fix ourselves as well. It's just like how it works, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like we what Laffy was saying, and I get what you're saying. It's about this rumination cycle that we get into, isn't it? Where we're constantly actually looking back at the issue and we're allowing the issue. You said at a point, and I say this as well a lot. I always say we're in a movie. We're in a movie of our lives, but we're the director, the producer. We're doing all these different things. We're a soul living a human experience. We're actually spiritual beings. And the thing is, while you're living that life, if you keep perpetuating a difficult situation, it will keep going. And that's kind of what I understand from what you've said.
yeah,
It will keep reappearing and keep binding you and it will keep haunting you. And it's something I was working on myself actually quite recently about how I stay in light space. And so I want to come back just slightly to meditation and to energy and to vibration. And so meditation, how would you put that? What would you say about the vibration and energy? And what would you think meditation does for the soul?
the soul.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think, as like, as souls, as beings of light, we've actually got a lot of heaviness, because what I believe in is about, reincarnation and about past lives. It's not necessarily even in this birth.
Mm.
It can be from previous births, and we've kind of accumulated a lot of burdens. We've accumulated a lot of heaviness. So one thing that meditation does, it kind of like lightens our burdens. We start that like heaviness we've got, it starts to become like light again. So there's like an internal process where we're kind of almost in a way we're kind of burning our sins, and that's very interesting because the more lighter you feel is a sign of the meditation really. And one kind of thing is as well, like when you start to meditate, you'll notice your characteristics will start changing. So we call them like sun scars, your characteristics, your personality traits. And what you notice is that your weaknesses and things will start diffusing. So it's about changing our personality traits. It's about changing ourselves internally. In terms of energy, I'd say it's a very subtle, like meditation is very subtle. Yeah, to like, we just had a silence retreat and that was the subtlety of it. And meditation is a lot about silence for me anyway. And the subtlety and that energy is so pure, it's so powerful that you can't really experience it in the physical world really. You really have to go within to get that pure, powerful, peaceful energy, and that vibration you can just radiate out, the vibration of peace, of power, of love, and all of these qualities are like within us, and they all have different energies. So love has its own frequency, peace has a different frequency. So it's so important to feel these qualities, experience them, and then you can become them.
Beautiful. Well, that is beautiful because that literally brings us to a space of really knowing what meditation is for us, really knowing it's a gift to heal, it's a healing gift, really. And you spoke about your silent meditation retreat, and I know you went to Worthing,
Yeah.
to the BK Centre there, and you did the silent retreat. Now, I before we came on, I said to Lacky, "What is a silent retreat? Don't you just sit around doing nothing, just not talking?" But Lacky explained it a bit better to me, and I think it'd be great for you guys to hear as well because there's more to a silent retreat than maybe some of us might have realised. So yeah, let's know about how that works and what you experienced in that silent retreat that you just
Sure, yeah. I kind of had my kind of doubts about it as well. I've been to a silence like retreat many years ago when I was young, and I think I wasn't like mature enough to understand it. This time around, being a bit more mature, a bit more old, I could get more of the benefits. So yeah, basically we went to Worthing, which is near to Brighton, and it was for 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The main day being Saturday of complete silence. You can't use your mobile phones, or you encourage not to use them as much, which can be challenging. And it's kind of interesting because you kind of meet people that you've not met before, and when you're eating, for example, that's in complete silence. And for me, for I think introverted people, it can be easier because you don't have to make effort to speak to people to introduce. Um, and I think there was a couple of sharings after feedback sessions where the people that were like extroverts, they found it more difficult. But what it is that it's not just being in complete silence. We was given workshops, and the workshops were so powerful. You know, it's really about seeing our value. It's actually about being like honest with ourselves. And they kind of said that when you're silent, you're listening to the voice of your heart. So, you know, it's really about this heart inquiry about understanding what's deeper. And when we open this channel of honesty, we've done our job. Yeah. So it's about opening that channel of honesty, and then we've done our job. Um, and really it was to examine what influences are causing the sorrow. You know, we did a lot of letter writing. So we had to write a letter either to someone that's causing us sorrow, or to a painful situation, or I think the last one was to maybe a relationship that you want to mend. So we kind of wrote a letter, but when you write the letter, you like approach it with love. So I actually wrote a letter, sorry, about a weakness that I was having, and I like approached it with love. And what was interesting, when I was writing the letter, I had complete acceptance, and I said like, you've done your part now, you've done your job, and you've done an amazing job, but now it's time to part ways. Yeah, now it's time to, and so it's kind of having that love, that acceptance of it, and you write in a completely different way. If you have challenge with someone, you had to write to that person's angelic self. So you had to write to that person's higher self, their angelic self. So that was interesting as well. And there's a lot of people that was having good experiences doing that. So there's like letter writing was extremely powerful. One thing that I took from it was it said you had to break this habit of taking pain,
yeah.
because what was interesting, the person doing the workshop, he said that our consciousness bites when we give pain. So we're like, oh, you know, we're aware that we might have caused that person sorrow.
Sorry, Lucky, what was that? Your conscience what when you
Our
explain?
consciousness
Bites.
bites, yeah. So like when we give someone pain, we might realize it, and we've kind of experienced that I've done something wrong. But the thing is, when we take pain, when we take sorrow, our consciousness doesn't really bite, because we don't, like, say for example, if I've got bullied, I don't say I've done something wrong by taking the pain.
Hmm.
And I think it's so because it's so ingrained in us.
Interesting.
Yeah, so and that and the thing with the silence like retreat was it's about about the vibrations, and they said it's 90% vibration and 10% talking. So it was really about like it was kind of like exploring our inner selves and what how giving us coping mechanisms on how to cope, and this like letter writing as well, and opening your heart with love and approaching any situation with love, and watch that situation transform, watch that situation change. So I think that's another thing I take, approaching situations with love.
That is very, very powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff because you were saying about how I was really like, I'm really taken with this when the person gives you sorrow, then that bites. But when you take sorrow, there's nothing happening as such apart from you. How did they describe that? How did they describe that notion of when you take it, when you take the
Yeah.
sorrow?
Yeah, it's like basically like when we take the sorrow, our consciousness is not biting, it's not telling us that we're doing something wrong, that I've done something wrong. Like say if we cause someone sorrow, we kind of know, okay, I've done something wrong.
Mhm.
If for example I've been bullied, I'm getting hurt, I'm taking sorrow. I don't realize that I've done something wrong. And the reason was because it's so ingrained in us that in the feedback sessions was interesting. Someone was sharing that he doesn't even realize when he's taking sorrow now. It's becoming such a automatic process
Mm.
that realization is not even there that I'm taking sorrow. And again, it's that rucksack analogy of, when you finally realize is to let go and just let go of that rucksack and, have that burden off your shoulders. So yeah, don't take sorrow because I think it's something that we all do. Yeah,
You describe that so beautifully because my mum often says to me, "You mustn't take sorrow," and it's just words, but your description of it was just so powerful because it's very it's very hard when we say forgive someone because like if you don't understand what you're doing, if you don't understand how you actually bring in forgiveness, then you can't do it. If someone says to you don't take sorry, you're like, well, how am I taking sorrow? Because that person's we're being trained, I think, to see outside of ourselves and go, oh, but they gave that to me. Well, no one actually gave it to you. We our perception and our own emotions respond to it from whatever what we've normalized. So when you said don't take the sorrow, I heard something quite profound, and it was, when you think something, if you meet someone, for example, and you think, oh, they don't like me, that's you then taking sorrow because you've
yeah,
immediately gone to that place of which is not positive. So that's it was powerful what you said because that's what I got from it. Was I right in getting that from it?
yeah. No, no, yeah, definitely. And like in the silence like retreat, it mentioned that stop being a victim, and get to the stage where nothing can influence us. And kind of like what you're saying is like, we are very well practiced in holding on to pain. So we are all very well practiced in holding on to pain. We've practiced this a lot. But the interesting thing is what distracts us from pain, and that's pleasure. So pleasure distracts us from pain. And the thing is that the heaviness inside us, like say for example, this one like meditation does, the heaviness inside us can pollute our souls. So the anger will just sit there and it will just get bigger and bigger, and it will create this kind of mist where you can't clearly see what's going on. So what this silence retreat is doing is kind of demystifying, so you can start to see clearly again. Your senses get heightened because when you're not speaking, your other senses of listening, of everything else will get heightened, and then you'll start to see clearly, you'll start to find the solutions, the mist will start to subside, and everything that's been sitting there, all that anger, all that heaviness, you can see it clearly for what it is. And this is the thing about the heart inquiry. This was the theme of the like retreat. Heart inquiry is kind of being spiritual surgeons,
Yeah.
examining things, and only through that silence could we see really what was like within us really. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. The whole being spiritual surgeons and the heart inquiry and allowing yourself to find who you are. I mean, a lot of times with my clients and stuff, I do work like go into your body and talk to the part of you that is feeling the emotions,
Yeah.
express it, see the color, see what it is, make it real and start to talk to it. Because I think we've been, and actually no, it's actually a worldwide problem in the fact that we are very trained to try and go to someone else to help us get fixed. Someone's going to fix me, and then it's done. That even that spans everything. It spans so where Lacky's talking about the heart inquiry, emotions, trauma, all of these different things. We tend to go, well, I'm going to go to a lawyer. I'm going to go to a psychotherapist. I'm going to go to a trauma therapist. And obviously, if you need one, then you use one. And
Yeah.
I say work alongside someone with this work that we do, like with this spiritual side of meditation. But it's very much a case of having the because it takes work and it takes strength to go and work on your heart. And it takes power to be able to say, I want to witness myself. And that would be my question for you. What power was it within you that actually, like the final straw that broke the camel's back, that said to you, I'm ready to witness this and do this work?
Yeah, it's good question. I think like really for me it was really the quality and the power of honesty. I feel like with myself, I was kind of like making excuses. I was trying to like distract myself, trying to keep myself busy, but I was being dishonest to myself, and sometimes I try and like justify things that are causing me sorrow. And I was trying to even hold on to pain. I was trying to hold on to this sorrow, this dirt, this pain, and trying to justify it because the rest of the world is doing it. But so I think having that complete honesty with myself allowed me that I need to go on this journey. And it's interesting what you said about the body actually, because we did this meditation in silence, and it was kind of the person conducting was giving this commentary, and he said something like about the body and how the body's always been there for us, and we was kind of asking for like forgiveness. We're saying sorry to the body for all this, the weight of the pain that you've carried, and that you've carried in every fiber, in every cell for us, because ultimately the body is carrying us, and all these emotions and feelings that the bodies had to carry for us as well. And I thought that was interesting. I didn't realize that the body's been so cooperative and so supportive. So to give it that love and to acknowledge the role of the body as well, because like I said, we're a spiritual being, but the body is our vessel, the body is our container. And I think the body works with us, and it's actually done more than we think it has. So to give that gratitude and that love, so that was another thing in the silence retreat that I really liked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that because it's such powerful work recognizing that we're more than the physicality though. And I think that because it's very difficult because we have a world that hasn't quite trained in, and because I'm a yoga teacher, I'm always saying, no, body, mind, spirit. We need to connect and fuse everything. But I think it's become quite easy to have this disconnection. And my yoga master actually says we've become very reduction, we've reduced things. So the body's there, and then the mind's there, and the spirit's there, and it's not true. They're one
Yeah.
whole thing. I think where you were saying about the body, and then you said about that, and sort of linking into what I'd said, it's so true. It's about this kind of cohesion and recognizing the soul, the body, everything works in one whole unit. It's just that we've become very separatist in how we look at things. And I think that's a different story. But yeah, I think that's what's going on. So, Lucky, my final question to you would be, what would you give as your soundbite of advice to anyone that has a life that they want to change and wants to move into spirituality to do it?
Yeah. Um, I would say like for me, I would say to like others, just be completely honest with yourself. Yeah, like know what you want, and um have the courage as well. Have the courage to try something different, try meditation. But again, what I would advise is do things that work for you. Yeah, there's so many things out there, whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's affirmations. They say if you say affirmation for 21 days, you can break a habit potentially. but you have to do things that work for you because some people are very visual, some people like to write things down. So depending on your personality, how you are, do things that work for you, but give things a chance. Yeah, give things a real chance. I mean, for me, I would have never have thought I would have gone into meditation so deeply. And now looking back, things like the bullying and things like that, that really helped me actually get on the spiritual path. Because when we're hurting, then we're searching. So the way I look at things now is that everything's got hidden benefit. And if it wasn't for all these struggles and kind of like you could say trauma and pain, it wouldn't have led me to where I am now. So I think everything has got hidden benefit, and that's why, in a way, it sounds strange. I'm so thankful for the bullying, and I'm so thankful for the traumas because I wouldn't have searched for like spirituality, yeah, and I wouldn't have searched to look deeper. And I think that's what happens when people are very comfortable with their lives. They wouldn't feel the need to look deeper, or when people are comfortable. So having the courage to break through your comfort zones, being honest with yourself, and giving things a chance. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. And where like he says about breaking out of your comfort zone, that's something very powerful, I think. And especially when it comes to emotional release and recognizing where you're contributing, because at the end of the day, we're all contributing to the experiences we're having. It's never a kind of they did this and I was innocent, because you could have just gone, oh, okay, fine, that's how you see it. That's no big deal. So I think we are all contributing in it quite a high way. So on that note, yeah, I would say I recommend meditation to those of you who are still on the fence. I'd also recommend inner child work, as Lucky has spoken about. I'd do that if you want it. And if you want someone to guide you, but you can get books on it and that kind of thing. And also like shadow work and writing letters. The writing letter one is powerful, powerful stuff. Now, before we finish, Lucky, I've got some few fun questions for you.
Yeah.
So I want to know what your favorite book is.
Favorite book.
Yeah.
Um, you know what? I don't really read many books. I
I love
used
it
to,
to get people with books. They go, I don't
yeah.
read. Don't ask me this question.
The thing the kind of thing is I've actually bought books to read, and I've never got a chance to reading them. But like yeah, when I was young, I did used to read like Harry Potter and things like that. But it's been a long time. Apart from spiritual kind of books here and there that I do read, there's one called New Beginnings, so that really kind of helped me. But in terms of other books, like I've bought things like The Alchemist and lots of other things, and I've just not read it, and I should. So yeah, I wouldn't say I've got a favorite book, but thanks for reminding me. I do need to start reading more. So yeah.
That's funny. Well, as like you said that, and we were talking about the body, I do want to recommend The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk, which is if you are holding anything in your body, reading that book is very profound and it will help you in some ways. So my next question to you, I've only got three, is what
Okay.
is your favorite film?
Favorite film? Wow. It's a good question actually. I do actually watch films. Like I like to watch like kind of like films that kind of move me, like inspirational films. Um, yeah, it's quite a lot. I'd say any film with meaning really. I liked the Will Smith film, that Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah,
That was a nice film. But yeah, from the top of my head, I can't think of like my favorite film.
put it on the
Um,
spot.
but yeah, I'll stick with like the Pursuit of Happiness for now.
Lovely. And what is your favorite song? Not your own.
Favorite song. Put me on the spot. I'd say honestly it's probably because I love like Eminem and I always have like from like when I was young.
Yeah,
It's probably be Eminem, either Eminem Lose Yourself or
a
Eminem
lovely as
Spiritual
yourself.
Moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
just find him like really inspiring, and he just he kind of did what he had to do, and like regardless, he's gonna do it. So that kind of passion, that motivation, yeah,
Yeah, I get what you're talking about with those two songs because they did something for me as well. That realization that if I keep letting myself be the person I am, then I will not grow, I will not evolve, that kind of thing.
yeah, you got to
So
break through your
lucky.
comfort zones.
So essentially, life's a healing journey, isn't it?
Yeah, like life is definitely a healing journey. Everyone's got trauma. Trauma doesn't discriminate, and I think by the end of it, you have to ask yourself, how much have I healed? And that's what life is, healing, and it's the most beautiful, rewarding journey that you can ever experience.
Well, there you go. That's what Lacky gives you. Lacky, can you share your social media handles here, please?
Yeah, so my social media is youtube.com/Lacky C, LACKY and on Facebook is Lacky C, LACKYC, and on Instagram, Lacky C1.
That's lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Lucky, thank you so much for joining me. I will put details about how to find your rap music in my notes and any other handles or anything you want to give me. Om Shanti, it's been an absolute privilege. It really has. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.